Okay, so here goes. I'm Stacia Morris. I'm really thankful to be here. So I say greetings to everybody wherever you are. And I thank the Anakazi Center for inviting me to this great forum that really fits into my passions. You can Google me, find out everything about me. I think I have 10 minutes. So I'm going to pack an hour and a half into 10 minutes. So I'm going to go really fast. I'm not going to talk much about myself. I'm going to just give you one thing about me, a couple of things that you wouldn't find if you Google me. The things that you wouldn't find is that the tenets of my life are to educate, inspire, empower people to act. So at the end of this, I want to empower you, though this is very fast, to act. I'm going to talk briefly about my volunteer experience, what I do. I'm going to talk about financial planning for life stages. I'm going to talk about what you should be doing during this pandemic. And then I'm going to give you a call to action. So, Nicole, does my 10 minutes start now or it started before? I'm kidding.
No, it starts now. Go ahead.
It starts now. Volunteer life. I am very passionate about women and their quality of life, because women, particularly Black and minority women, we are the poorest people, and we're going to be the poorest people unless we take some action and do something about that. So to maintain quality of life, and in my volunteer experience, I created 2 ministries at my church, and you're going to find it very funny. The 2 ministries are named after my parents. I was able to do this because I've been at that church from the beginning, from its founding. I created Connie's Circle, which is a sewing ministry to teach women and guys. We've had some guys to sew. And we've had up to about 34 women on a Saturday morning sewing, women and girls, mothers and daughters, sisters, grandmothers, granddaughters. It's interesting that during this pandemic time, my mother was a nurse. So Connie's Circle moved from a physical meeting to a digital meeting where we have Zoom sessions. And we're making masks for nurses. And my mom was a nurse, so it's just, and my elder sister was a nurse. We're making masks for frontline people. And we're close to making 2,000 masks and giving them away to area hospitals. So that's one of my ministries at my church. The other ministry I named after my dad, and that really knits everything here. My dad was the first entrepreneur I knew. He worked as a headmaster in a school, but from 6 to 8, he went to his farm in the mornings. Came home at 8, dressed, went to be a headmaster. Came back at 3 or 4, changed, went to be a farmer. So I saw my dad had a full-time job, but he was an entrepreneur. So I formed a group which we support entrepreneurs, and the group's name, by the way, my mother's name is Constance, so Connie's Circle was easy. My dad's name was Stanley. He's passed away. My mom is still alive. My dad's name was Stanley, and there's nothing that rhymed with Stanley. So one morning I got up and the light bulb went on. Call it the STAN group. So it's the STAN group, strategic, teaming, and networking group. And as Dr. Ochunga Goba just said, we need partnerships and we need to team. So my ministries fit right into what the mission of this conference. So that's my volunteer work, and at the basic of everything I do is that I want women, quality of life for women. So let's go into personal financial planning. This is my end career. I've done a lot of stuff, and now, especially with the pandemic, it's great to be home, great to be working out of home and not traveling. I'm a financial advisor. I'm a personal financial advisor, and we would do work with businesses also. So I'm going to talk to you about setting goals, and I'm brief. I'm going to, as I said, we're on a turbo train here. First of all, you have to set some goals. So whether pre-pandemic, during pandemic, and for post-pandemic, we have to set goals. We have to set goals. We have to plan to meet those goals. We have to review the goals, adjust the goals, and monitor the goals. So at every stage in your life, at this stage, high schoolers, youths would be planning to go to college, and your parents would be the ones who would prepare to fund you. Hopefully they've started before. If you're not, you could be super bright, you can be an athlete, you can get scholarships, but still you would need some funding from your parents. So parents who are out there, hope that you have started to prepare to fund your kids' college education. The next group of people are early professionals. You've just finished college, you have a first job. It's there. I know jobs are hard to find right now. It's very difficult. But if you have a first job or you have your business and you're early professional, you start thinking about planning for marriage, planning for a house, planning for family. You may start planning for your children's retirement, for your children's college, and your retirement. It makes sense to start early to plan for your retirement. And I am very much in favor, and I am a proponent of starting to plan for your retirement very early. And I would admit that I did not. And that's why I'm here championing this and really here to help women and families. I work with guys also. It's easier to work with women, helping them to plan their finances and to make sure that they can meet their goals. Then we have the mid-career professional or mid-career business owner. You plan to maintain your lifestyle. You plan for retirement also, continue to plan for retirement, continue to plan for children's colleges, expenses, and here you start to plan for your estate. What's your legacy? What are you going to leave for your children and your children's children? Then in retirement, hopefully we have enough money for our lifestyle and we continue planning our estate and for our legacy. So that's all I wanted to talk about on the personal financing planning portion of my speech. I know we are very concerned about our business financial planning too. I usually tell people who have both business and personal, let's get your personal in order first, and then we work on your business. So I just talked about personal. Let's talk about the pandemic and its impact on women. Yesterday in the US, we had an economic report which said that the US economic output fell 9.5% in the second quarter. And this was the biggest drop on record. And it translated to a 32% annual rate of decline in the US. Basically, there has been an economic collapse. It was speedy, it was severe, massive job losses, drastically reduced economic vitality and spending power. So that's the economy. How does it translate to women? Traditionally, women have been mothers and caregivers, caregivers of children and caregivers of elder care. Right now, today, I'm in the sandwich generation where I don't have kids, but my siblings has kids, and they're like dotted line my kids. And then we have our elder mother. So we are in the sandwich generation. What has happened during the pandemic? You can't send your kids to school. There are no schools open. You can't send your parents to elder care. And women, as I said, are the primary caregivers. In addition to being primary caregivers, there's been payment disparity. Men, we know, make more than women. So women's careers have been affected, and there's long-term damage in terms of careers and finances. We know in the US, Latin women are mainly in the service industries, and minorities are the front-end workers. Their minorities are the nurses, etc. So circling back, caregivers being paid less. In many households, the Wall Street Journal report last month said that husbands make more money, and usually 70% of husbands make more money than their wives. So who stays in the workforce? when there's caregiving needs. The one who stays in the workforce is the husband who's been making more money. So here again, impacts. The women have no salaries, no raises, no retirement funding matches, reduced social security, less time in the workplace. So we're heavily impacted economically and financially. And I think that this is not news to us. We see it all the time. Now, how do we cope and how do we plan? So I'm going to talk about how do we cope right now financially, and then how do we plan for post-pandemic. First, do we have an emergency fund? We used to have 3 to 6 months emergency fund. This pandemic is going on nearly 6 months now. What's your emergency fund? If there's no emergency fund, then we need to look at the next step, which is your budget. Understand what money comes into the household and what your expenses are. Understand each line item. Is this something I want? Is this something I need? If it's something I want and I don't have enough money to pay for it, instead of putting it on a credit card, let's cut it out of the budget. And let's keep the needs. And then let's monitor our spending, our constant spending. I know in this environment, a lot of people would be dependent on money's Department of Labor, so benefits from your state. If that's not enough in your budget, then what do? We need to look for other sources of income. So today, I would say other sources of income. First of all, I say, look at what's in your hand. What can you make? What can you produce? What can you learn? What can you learn new? Learn new for now and for post-pandemic. So some examples. I taught a lady how to sew. She came to Connie's Circle. She lost her job as she was a nanny to some kids, and the parents didn't want other people coming into their houses during the pandemic. So this person lost her job as a nanny. What is she doing now? She learned to sew at Connie's Circle. We have our weekly Zoom meetings where we talk about sewing, give tips, etc. This lady today makes masks for sale. She has been able to supplement whatever other money she had in her household by making masks for sale. The other example I want to talk to you about is, what can you learn? I am recommending and mentoring most of the people I mentor to learn something new. Take a class, learn to make websites, learn to code, learn to program, learn Excel, learn QuickBooks and accounting. There are lots of free courses given by the Department of Labor and universities. You not only learn for now, but please learn for post-pandemic, because we are in a world where everybody is working from home. And here again, we see disparities because it's the higher level jobs and the professional jobs where you're able to work from home. So start preparing yourself, start learning something new. In my case, I rejuvenated old projects. I just said, what's in your hand? I thank God that I had a lot in my hand. I did Teen Money 101. I've now formed an alliance, and we just heard about forming alliances, forming partnerships. I just formed an alliance with a guy who has a learning management system, and he's going to translate my book into his learning management system. Then the other thing, and this may sound very old, but I'm saying barter. Whatever your skills are, barter it for something. So here is my example. I was mentoring a young lady who speaks Spanish, and she was looking for a job to translate educational materials into Spanish. She didn't get the job, but I made a proposal to her. I proposed that she translate my book, Teen Money 101, into Spanish, and she gets two things. She gets to put on her resume that she has translated educational materials into Spanish, and she gets to put my company name on her resume. And she also gets to put at the front of the book, she gets to put her name translated by. So here we have a win-win situation. I am getting my book that I planned to translate into Spanish ages ago. And by the way, I'm a persistent learner of Spanish. I'm not fluent. I wanted to be fluent. I'm not fluent. My brothers play soccer and they can speak Spanish like as if they live in Spanish-speaking countries. So barter something. Find somebody who wants something that you may need, who have something you may need, and you have something they may need, and barter it. So here I'm helping a young woman who lost her job, and I'm helping her to put something on her resume. And I'm sure the next time she looks for a translation job, she's going to find one because she would have had that she translated my book and my workbook. And I hope she doesn't find a job too soon. By the way, I told her to go to her parents, let her parents know that they would have to feed her and clothe her, and not much clothing going on now, new clothes. Her parents would have to feed her and give her housing for the next 2 months while she translated for me. And the parents agreed because it's either that or she's doing nothing at home for the next 2 months. So let's get creative here. The next thing, and then you volunteer. Go out and volunteer or stay at home, find something you can volunteer, do the social distancing, make mask and wear mask, and find something to give back, because when you give back, you get more. You meet people who may need something, who may have networking is it. And I give you an example as I get down closer here. Form new relationships, energize new relationships, form alliances, but protect your alliances. Write non-disclosure agreements between friends, between new people. I'll give you an example, and I'm really glad that Dr. Sheila just mentioned this. Yesterday, my brother and I were in my office where I'm here, and I don't know if my Zoom camera just died from overuse or something, but we were Zooming with somebody in Colorado, and the next person was a guy in London, England, because he had done he's digitalizing sports. So my three brothers are soccer players, and they're looking now in this world to digitalize their sport and their soccer tutorials, soccer exercises, etc. And we sat here as we were blown away by what this guy has done in London. So we are forming alliances, but as I said, before we form alliances and start telling people what we have in our hands, we make sure we sign NDAs with them. And there's something today called a reciprocal NDA. I protect your secrets, you protect my secrets. So we've been doing that. So some of the projects I've been doing quickly, my brother's soccer coaching, we brought it online. My sister is finishing up a book. I worked with her on that. I have oodles of projects. I can spend another year doing projects, but I have to go back to being a financial advisor. That leads me into, how does my job change? Financial advisors meet people, see people, and hopefully my camera would work when we do Zooms with potential clients. But the financial advice world is changing. It's becoming more of a digital, of a work from home world. So my world is going to change very much. So I would request that everybody who can hear me, you can see me, I'm all dressed up. Nicole saw me earlier. You look at how your world will change, and here is my call to action, and it just fits right into Dr. Ochububu's what she just said. Prepare for change. It's gonna change. It has changed, and if we're gonna survive, you have to prepare for change. One thing I loved here, what she said was that, find somebody in Nigeria, in Africa, to be your do your Facebook ads or whatever, do your tweets, whatever. I just want everybody to know I'm from the Caribbean. I'm from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I'm actually in talks with some young people to help them find jobs. I'm talking to a guy out of Dallas, and he has testing jobs that he can potentially move to my island, starting with about 4 people. We can scale to 12 to 20. So I'm doing that. And my younger sister recently told me I should get my own person to develop my my online presence.
Beautiful.
So
that's lovely.
That's the number. Okay, so I'm done. It was timely. So my call to action is do something. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Stacia. I have 2 questions that have come through in the chat, and I would like to ask you. So Violet Jennings asks, yes, plan for retirement early. How do you recommend navigating through the cultural barriers that hinder conversations about planning with our elderly parents?
That's tough because we are living that right now with my mom. That's tough. And I had a dad. My dad was a quasi lawyer and he never wrote a will. So we are still unraveling his estate in the Caribbean. So how do you get around elderly parents? As I said, that's a tough conversation to have because they don't want to let go of their reins. It's like taking away the car keys from your parents when they feel that they can still drive. There's lots of literature out there, and if that person wants to send me an email at my email address, I can send them some literature. My elder sister is actually a super duper, we call a super nurse, and that's another area that we're looking into right now, elder care.
Great. And then I have another question. Is there, or do you know of any initiatives to push for financial literacy for children under the age of 18 within the schools? So, yeah.
Well, you can't see my book, but I wrote this book during 2008, and I'd shoot you guys a copy of the page. And I have been going to schools in Connecticut, in New York. I've taught teachers who taught teachers in Connecticut. It's very, very difficult because as school budgets get cut, they're not going to add these other things to it. I really started this book because a friend of mine, as she was planning for retirement, she had never done a budget. So if you do one thing coming out of here, please do a budget. Please know where your money is coming from and where it's going. And when you have the excess, you save, or you save from the top, and then you do your other expenditures. So it's not in my area. I got traction through after-school programs. I work with a lot of after-school programs and literally touched every school within the Norwalk school system. It's tough getting into regular programs. It's much easier getting into after-school programs.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your input into this conference. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And could you just share with us your details so we could put them in the chat and people can have access to you, your social media handles? That will be very useful and helpful.
My sister would laugh at the social media handles. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sambo. And thank you as well for speaking and sharing your knowledge as well with us, Ms. Stacia. We truly appreciate it.